No, she goes all out. This is our second time talking about her just this year, because she was also just in The Invisible Man just a couple months ago, which came out back in February or March. But like considering this, and then even considering like a side role in like a horror thing that she gets in something like Us,
Yeah.
like she always goes like 110%, and she really does in this film, playing Shirley Jackson as just like someone who's really like beaten down and paranoid, but finds a way to sort of like channel that and those feelings into like her own artwork, and she kind of feels like her artwork then is like something that she actually owns. The film largely just ends up being a drama about sort of like 1940s patriarchy, especially in academia and stuff like that. From what I understand, in real life, her husband, who was also a professor, and is in the film, played by, I think it's the dad from Call Me by Your Name. It's Michael Stuhlbarg here, or
Yeah.
people might also remember him from the Coen Brothers' A Serious Man, which he's amazing in.
Yeah, he is incredibly talented, especially in this though, of being like just this pretentious and pompous asshole. Oh my god! And this movie just he drove me insane in this film.
Yeah, no, he's really good at the role that he's playing here for sure, because he has like a facade of like charisma,
Yes.
of like, but that he puts on for his students, and then the second though he gets sort of like a chance like alone with someone, a lot of the time he's either very creepy or he's very he kind of reveals his true colors,
And he tears
especially
people
when
down,
he's talking
like,
to his wife.
Like he's
like when
so good at it. He knows how to just like get into the roots of what makes somebody, like what their identity is, or at least what they feel it is, and he just tears it apart. Like there's a scene where well, essentially for plot purposes, there's a couple staying with them because the gentleman in the couple he's trying to get tenure, I believe, with the school that that professor works at.
Yeah, and also it's played by Logan Lerman, who I realized
Yes.
I hadn't seen in a movie since like Fury.
That's the last one I remember him in, anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's pretty good.
Yeah, so it was neat seeing him.
He's not like that. He's not in it that much. He's kind of a part. He's kind of the reason why they're there in the first place, and then really what they end up focusing on is his girlfriend and Shirley's relationship that kind of develops in this very toxic and I guess at a certain point it's a facade, really, but it feels loving at a certain point, but it really just becomes something that's like someone using somebody.
Yeah, and there's also a sense too that Shirley, having this young girl move into her home, and her, I think that they are going to be married, or they just have been married, and that's also why they have a kid eventually at some point through the film. And he's basically trying to provide for her by becoming a professor, and he, sort of reveres Shirley's husband, this Michael Stuhlbarg's character, professor, and he wants to sort of learn from him and live with him and, become a professor at the same school. And what Shirley latches onto is that you feel like she kind of sees a younger version of herself, and her coupling and her husband as well, and she knows basically what is going to happen to this girl, which is exactly what does happen, which is that he starts spending all his time at the school and sort of like drifting away from her a little bit, and eventually he does like cheat on her with students and stuff. And you basically get a sense that Shirley has been living like the late stages of the life that the young couple is in the early stages of, and it's basically taken a toll on Shirley to the point where she is like she's manic, she's cooped up, she feels like she's being sort of like imprisoned in her own house in a way. And from what I understand, I don't remember if they got around to addressing it in the film, but when I was looking it up, because I was interested in sort of how much of what we saw in the film was sort of like true to the period of her life, and it turns out most of it, like the young couple, it sounds like might have been fabricated.
Yeah, just for storytelling purposes.
A lot. Yeah, but just a way to get very. Yeah, to get into the microcosm of the way that she felt in her house, like in a sort of a smaller allegory for it.
Yeah.
Just a tighter way to get into it. But apparently, as Shirley was writing a lot of her novels and they were taking off and she was becoming a success, and her husband was a lot of the time like reviewing them and editing them, her husband basically allotted her the money.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't in control of the stuff that she wrote and stuff like that. And I was like, wow.
Yeah, this guy was a real fucking piece of shit in real life, it seems. Because even after she passed away, it took him 1 year before he was married to one of his students, I believe. And also it was well, not only that, I believe it was, I could be wrong on this, I might want to check, but it's a similar relationship to, like, it was one of his daughter's friends, and that became one of his students. So this guy was a fucking, like, total piece of garbage. The only thing that I found a little odd with this whole dynamic of how they're kind of expressing, you know, her anguish and what she's going through, as well as just how much of a monster this guy seemed to be, is that it's not exactly, doesn't shine a light really for Shirley. Like, it makes her seem pretty bad, to be honest. I found, like, there's a lot of scenes where, you know, he's being an outright asshole. Like that scene I was mentioning earlier when he tells the boy that he's, like, all his work that he's been working on for years is completely derivative. There's not an ounce of originality. He has no right to even be in academics, that kind of stuff.
And he said